We have travelled through the internal landscape of the mind, the necessity of action, and the cooling flow of non-resistance. We have looked at the figure in the painting and realised that his sorrow wasn't a life sentence. It was simply a state of being out of tune with his own innate nature. But now we face the ultimate challenge. How do we take these ancient principles and live them in the middle of a noisy, demanding modern world? How do we move from the theory of the sages to the reality of the streets? To find the true you in the modern world, we must look closer at the final evolution of Wang Yangming's thought, the four-sentence teaching. This is the ultimate blueprint for mental clarity, formulated late in his life to summarize his entire philosophy. It begins with a realization that challenges everything we think about ourselves. In the original substance of the mind, there is no distinction between good and evil. This isn't a moral statement, but a deep psychological insight. It means that your true you, at its deepest core, is like a mirror or a clear sky. It is prior to your anxiety, prior to your failures, and prior to the judgments you heap upon yourself. When you were born, before the world told you who you should be, your mind was this clear substance. The anxiety you feel today is not you. It is merely weather passing through that sky. By understanding that your fundamental nature is beyond these labels, you begin to reclaim the power to observe your thoughts without being consumed by them. Most of our modern suffering comes from the second sentence of the teaching. Good and evil arise from the movement of our intentions. The moment we move from being to wanting, we create friction. When we want things to be different than they are, or when we cling to an image of a perfect version of ourselves, we create the good of our expectations and the evil of our current reality. This friction is the source of the hum of anxiety that follows us through the city. We are constantly judging our current moment against an imagined future, and in that gap, peace disappears. Wang Yangming's solution wasn't to run away to the mountains to find peace in a vacuum. He was a man of the world, a governor who dealt with rebellion, crime, and heavy bureaucracy. He famously taught that the true you is found exactly where the trouble is. He called this Shishang Mo Lian, or polishing oneself through the affairs of the world. Think about a piece of rough jade. It doesn't become smooth and beautiful by sitting in a velvet box. It becomes a masterpiece through the friction of the grinding stone. In the same way, your character and your peace are not developed in a meditation hall. They are developed in the pressure of your daily life. If you are sitting in traffic and your heart begins to race with frustration, that traffic is your grinding stone. That frustration is your opportunity to practice. You do not wait for a quiet room to find your center. You find your center by engaging with the chaos. The true you is the one who can maintain a bright and clear mind while navigating a difficult conversation, a financial stressor, or a looming deadline. To understand how this works in practice, we have to look at one of the most difficult periods of Yangming's life, his exile to Longchang. After standing up for justice in the imperial court, he was beaten, imprisoned, and eventually banished to a remote, desolate region where the local people didn't even speak his language. He lived in a cave. He had no status, no comforts, and every reason to fall into a deep, paralyzed depression. It was in this rock-bottom moment that he had his great enlightenment. He realized that even if everything external is taken away, his job, his reputation, his comfort, his mind still possessed the innate knowing, or Liangzhi. He realized that peace doesn't depend on the environment. It depends on the alignment of the mind. He didn't just survive Longchang, he thrived there, teaching the locals and finding a joy that no emperor could take away. He proved that the true you is invincible when it stops relying on external validation. This brings us to the core of Yangming's practice, Liangzhi. He believed that every human being has an internal compass that already knows the truth. This is not a complex intellectual exercise, it is an immediate, intuitive sense. When you see a child about to fall into a well, you don't stop to calculate the pros and cons of helping. Your Liangzhi moves you instantly. The problem in our modern life is that we bury that knowing under layers of social conditioning, logic, and self-doubt. We become anxious because we stop listening to that internal compass and start listening to the external noise. We try to calculate the best move based on fear or the desire for status. Yangming's advice is radical. Stop calculating. Trust your innate knowing. When you act from that place of internal honesty, the gap between your mind and your body vanishes. This is the third sentence of his teaching. Knowing good and evil is the work of Liangzhi. Imagine living a life where there is no delay between your truth and your movement. When you know you need to rest, you rest. When you know a task must be done, you do it without the internal dialogue of "I don't want to" or "what if I fail?" This is the state of the sage. It isn't a state of perfection or a lack of emotion, it is a state of sincerity. The true you is simply the sincere you, the one who acts in total alignment with their internal light. But how do we maintain this sincerity when the world is constantly trying to pull us off course? This leads to the final sentence. Doing good and removing evil is the rectification of thoughts. This is the active daily work. It doesn't mean suppressing your thoughts or being positive all the time. It means that the moment a thought of fear, artificiality, or selfish calculation arises, you recognize it immediately. You don't judge yourself for having the thought. You simply see it for what it is, a cloud passing over the sun of your innate knowing. By seeing it clearly, you prevent it from turning into an action that misaligns you. You become the master of your own mental house. You begin to see the parts of yourself that want to be safe or validated at the expense of your truth. You realize that those parts are not the true you. They are just the 1,000 transformations of the world reflecting in the mirror of your mind. We often think that to be philosophical we must be solemn and heavy-hearted. But Yangming taught that the original substance of the mind is joy itself. This is a revolutionary idea for anyone struggling with anxiety. Joy is not something you earn after you've fixed your problems. Joy is the default state of a mind that is clear of dust. If you are not experiencing joy, it is a sign that something, an egoic desire or a fear, is blocking your innate knowing. Anxiety is simply the dust. You don't need to create a new mirror. You just need to keep wiping the dust away through sincere action. As we look back at the journey of this series, we see a progression. We started with the mind as the source. We moved to action as the completion. We explored flow as the method. And now we end with integration. To be a sage in the city means you no longer see a difference between your spiritual life and your daily life. Your work is your philosophy. Your relationships are your philosophy. The way you walk down a busy street is your philosophy. You remain simple while the world is complex. You remain quiet while the world is loud. This isn't achieved through force, but through the quiet power of your own integrity. When people asked Wang Yangming how he stayed so calm during a military crisis or a political storm, he didn't point to a complex strategy. He pointed to his mind. He knew that if his internal eye was still, the storm around him couldn't touch his essence. Wang Yangming's final words were, "This mind is so bright and clear. What else is there to say?" He wasn't talking about a mind that had solved every problem or achieved every goal. He was talking about a mind that had returned to its original luminous state. He had polished the mirror until it was one with the light itself. He was at total peace, even as his physical life was ending, because he knew he was not the body or the circumstances. He was the brightness. This is my wish for you. That you stop searching for the true you in the future, in a self-help book, or in a different version of your life. The true you is the one who is listening to these words right now. It is the one who knows deep down what the next sincere step in your life is. Take that step. Do not wait for the feeling of certainty. Do not wait for the anxiety to disappear. Move with the anxiety. Act through the fear. Use the challenges of your day, the chores, the work, the difficult conversations, as the grinding stone to polish your spirit. The guitarist in the painting is finally in tune. Not because his environment changed, but because he stopped fighting his own hands. He realized that the music doesn't come from the strings, it comes from the player's heart. When the heart is sincere, the music is beautiful, regardless of the tune. The sages have given us the map, but you are the one who must walk the path. Keep your mind bright, keep your actions sincere. The journey to the true you begins every morning when you open your eyes and decide to act from your innate knowing rather than your fear. Go and be the bright, clear mind that the world so desperately needs.